Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen takes jealousy to a whole new level. My fiancé refuses to sit in the front seat because my ex sat there. I'm 27 male, engaged to my fiancé who's 26 female, and while we're knee-deep in wedding planning, something came up recently that's left me feeling confused and honestly frustrated. I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here or if her reaction is just unreasonable. So here's the deal. My fiancé refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex used to sit there. She says it makes her uncomfortable, and she feels like she's taking someone else's spot. At first, I thought she was joking because, honestly, who thinks like that? But no, she's dead serious. Now, every time we go somewhere, she sits in the back seat like I'm some kind of an Uber driver. At first, I tried to be understanding. I said something like, "Hey, if it really bothers you, I can sell the car, and we'll get something else." She shut that down and said she didn't want to force me to get rid of it. Cool, right? But then she still won't sit up front. She just quietly opens the back door and slides in like it's totally normal behavior. Let me tell you, it's not. But this car thing, it's just the tip of the iceberg. She has this habit of avoiding anything that connects to my past relationships. Cuddling on the couch while watching a movie? Nope, because my ex and I did that. Eating at a restaurant I've been to before? Off the table. Visiting a park that I once took my ex to? Forget about it. Now, I get it. No one wants to feel like they're living in someone else's shadow, but I also feel like I'm being punished for having dated someone before her. I mean, who hasn't? I can't exactly erase the past. It's not like I bring it up or compare her to my ex. I'm fully committed to her and I want to build a future with her. What's throwing me off even more is that she still keeps in touch with her ex. They text sometimes and even call each other occasionally, and I'm totally fine with it because, hey, I trust her. I figure if she says there's nothing romantic going on, then there's nothing romantic going on. But how is it okay for her to chat with her ex while I'm over here being side-eyed because my car has a history? The weirdness doesn't stop there. Whenever these conversations come up, she just shuts down. She'll get distant, like emotionally and physically. She won't say goodnight, avoids holding hands, and makes these passive-aggressive comments that leave me wondering if I've done something wrong. It's like walking on eggshells all the time, and I never know when I'm going to step on a landmine. One time I tried bringing it up. I asked her if she realized how this was affecting me, how it felt like I was constantly being judged for things I can't change. Her response? She said she just needs time to work through it and that I should be patient. Okay, but how much time are we talking? Months? Years? Because this has been going on for most of our relationship. Here's the thing. I love her, I do, but it's starting to feel like her insecurities about my past are overshadowing everything else. I'm trying to be understanding, but it's hard when I feel like I'm the one who's bending. I even started joking that I should get a new couch, a new car, and a whole new set of memories just to make her comfortable. Spoiler alert, she did not find that funny. So now I'm stuck. On one hand, I want to support her and make her feel secure. On the other, I can't help but feel like this is unfair and unsustainable. I don't know how to have a future with someone who's so hung up on my past. Am I missing something here? Am I in the wrong? She sounds emotionally immature. Honestly, I would hold off on marrying her until she has some serious amount of therapy sessions under her belt. Not the jerk. It's so stupid. She says she doesn't want to do things he did with his ex, but wouldn't that include being in a relationship with him? Pretty sure his ex did that with him. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my dinner with 2 kids? So I, 29 female, have been dating my boyfriend, Albert, who's 35, for a couple of years now. Things were great, like really great, until his family decided to move closer to us. And let me tell you, I've never seen such a toxic, overly entangled family dynamic in my life. Every ex is their sworn enemy, every boss was out to get them, and every friend apparently owes them underlying loyalty while also tolerating their constant rudeness. After a few too many unpleasant run-ins, I cut ties with his mom entirely. It was just too much. But the real star of this story is his sister, who's 37. She has 2 kids, a 9-year-old son and 7-year-old daughter. At first, I didn't mind her dropping by occasionally, but it started becoming a regular thing, like every other day, and she always came around dinner like she expected to be fed. No heads up, no courtesy text, just shows up with her kids, acting like my house is her second home. The kids? They're good at heart, but her parenting drives me up the wall. She lets them do whatever they want because they're just kids. They interrupt conversations, throw tantrums when told no, and treat my belongings like toys. Over time, I've had to hide all kinds of stuff. Small sculptures, pantry items, my stash of hotel toiletries, and even my hair extensions because they'd grab them and disappear. Do you know how annoying it is to spend an hour hunting down something only to find it stuffed in a couch cushion or under a bed because they were just playing? The final straw with the kids was a few months ago. Her son, who has anxiety, got into one of our kitchen drawers and grabbed some party snaps, those little things that pop when you throw them on the ground. Well, some of them went off and he got scared and started crying. I just sat there because, honestly, I didn't want to encourage his snooping. I wasn't mean, but I didn't coddle him either. I told Albert he needed to talk to his sister about the constant chaos, but surprise, surprise, he didn't. Fast forward to now, and I'm absolutely done with all of it. I've tried to set boundaries with his sister, like telling her she can't just show up uninvited, but she ignores me. I recently put a lock on my office door because I have a strong suspicion she's been using my copy machine while I'm not home. Like, what is this, an office supply store? To make things worse, Albert has been getting fewer hours at work lately, which means I'm paying for most of the bills now. Meanwhile, his sister eats through our groceries like she's at an all-you-can-eat buffet. And instead of thanking me for carrying the financial load, Albert has the audacity to call me selfish and greedy whenever I bring it up. His sister isn't exactly struggling either. She's a nail tech and a hairstylist, and she used to teach at a beauty school before she had her kids. She has her own car, a place to live, and access to food. She's not struggling, she's just taking advantage of us. The breaking point came last Friday. Albert went bowling with his friends, and I told him explicitly that I wanted a quiet evening to myself. I had been working long hours, both at home and on site, and I was just exhausted. I got home at 7 p.m., sat down with a seafood boil I'd been craving for weeks, and finally started to relax. Then, guess who shows up? His sister. She claimed she was there to pick up her daughter's backpack, but of course she brought the kids. Her son sees my crab legs and immediately starts whining for some. I apologized and told him, as kindly as possible, that it was my dinner. Cue the waterworks. He starts crying, stomping, and begging his mom for my food. She just stood there awkwardly while I rushed to grab the backpack and basically shoved them out the door. But they didn't leave right away. Nope. Her son cried outside for 5 minutes while she sat in her car, talking him down. I shut the blinds and tried to ignore it. When Albert got home, he was furious with me. He said he was disgusted by the way I treated his family and hasn't spoken to me since. Instead, he's been giving me the silent treatment, which honestly feels even worse than yelling. He's texting me from across the room instead of talking, and I've cried more times than I can count in the last few days. Yesterday, his sister showed up again, but Albert wasn't home yet, so I didn't let her in. I'm officially at my wit's end. Albert texted me later, demanding I apologize to his sister. Apologize? For what? For wanting basic privacy and respect in my own home? I realized that this relationship might not be salvageable. I didn't sign up to be a doormat for his entire family. It's not just about the groceries or the money or even the constant intrusions. It's the fact that Albert doesn't have my back. I've tried to set boundaries and he just ignores them. Instead, he lets his sister walk all over me and then blames me for being upset about it. I feel like I failed by considering leaving. We had planned this cozy Christmas together months ago, back when things were good, and now it feels like a pipe dream. But I can't keep doing this. I texted Albert explaining how I feel and how unfair it is that he's so comfortable letting his family take advantage of me while I'm footing most of the bills. His response? More silence. Part of me feels guilty, like I'm giving up on the relationship, but another part of me feels like I'm being treated like a doormat. I'm just so tired of this. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my roommate's boyfriend live with us after he tested me? Plus final update. I, 19 female, live with my roommate, let's call her Ashley, she's 20, in a small 2-bedroom apartment. We've been friends since high school and decided to split rent when we both started college. Things were fine at first, but then she started dating Jake, who's 22. At first, he was over just a couple of nights a week, which I didn't mind, but over the past few months, he's basically moved in, eating our food, using our stuff, and not contributing a single dime to rent or bills. I finally had enough and told Ashley that Jake either needed to start paying his share or stop practically living here. She apologized and said she'd talk to him. I thought that was the end of it. Fast forward to last week. I was getting ready to head out to a late-night study group when Jake cornered me in the kitchen. He told me he wanted to test me to see if I'd be a good person to live with full-time. I was confused and asked what he meant. He said that if I wanted him to pay rent, I had to prove I was roommate material by showing I could handle sharing the space with someone like him. Then he gave me a list of rules he'd want me to follow if we officially moved in. Things like doing my fair share of the cooking, even though I already make my own meals, not bringing any guys over. I'm single, but why is that even relevant? And being respectful of his gaming time by keeping the Wi-Fi free during his streams. I laughed in his face and told him there was no way he was moving in. He got angry and told Ashley I was being unreasonable. She confronted me and said Jake was just testing the waters and that I should be more open to the idea. She accused me of being jealous because I'm single and suggested I was trying to sabotage their relationship. Now she's saying if I can't be supportive, then maybe she should get a new roommate, one who respects her relationship. I think this is completely insane, but Ashley and a couple of her friends are siding with Jake. They're calling me selfish and controlling. Am I the jerk for refusing to let him move in after his ridiculous test? Not the jerk. Go to your landlord and explain the situation if Jake continues to live there. He will be forced to pay rent or leave. Also, remove your name from any utilities. If you pay for the Wi-Fi, change the password and they can buy their own. OP. Will it not risk the whole friendship if I already changed the password? I feel like I would harm them doing that. Edit. I start to understand now how much they've gaslighted me. There's nothing to risk. She's not a friend if she's okay allowing her boyfriend to push you around like this. OP. I have to admit, my home doesn't feel like a safe place anymore. Not even my own room. So he thinks he can come in as a third wheel and start making demands and stupid rules? Sounds like he's not the roommate material. Tell Ashley that if he's paying 1/3, that doesn't mean he gets priority. How dare he make demands when he's an equal partner in expenses, especially for gaming, for crying out loud. OP. Yeah, he gets really emotional when it comes to his gaming time. Update. Since our confrontation, Jake has gone full victim mode. He's been telling mutual friends that I'm trying to ruin his life and kick him out of his girlfriend's apartment. Let me remind you, this man doesn't pay rent or contribute to any bills, so calling it his girlfriend's apartment is already laughable. He's been painting me as some controlling, jealous monster who can't handle his straightforward personality. Meanwhile, Ashley is eating it up and defending him, saying I'm overreacting and causing unnecessary drama. What's worse is that I've started noticing just how much control Jake has over her. She's completely bought into his narrative and is now acting like I'm the enemy. For example, she told me last night that my attitude is making it hard for them to feel comfortable in their own home. Their home. This apartment is 50% mine, but suddenly I'm being treated like an unwelcome guest. I've decided I've had enough. I've already documented everything, his constant presence, his freeloading, and now his smear campaign. I'm reaching out to my landlord this week. Most leases have clauses about long-term guests, and Jake has definitely overstayed his. As for Ashley, I don't know if there's any saving our friendship. I'm heartbroken because I thought she cared about me, but now I realize she's supporting Jake's behavior. Thank you to everyone who opened my eyes to what was really happening. I'll post another update once I've spoken to my landlord and taken further action. For now, I'm just trying to reclaim my space and my peace of mind. Final update. It turns out Jake had violated the guest policy in our lease by staying over so often. The landlord was understanding and firm. Jake couldn't stay overnight anymore, and if Ashley wanted to add him to the lease, we'd need to renegotiate everything, including his share of the rent and utilities. When I shared this with Ashley, she was furious at first. She accused me of trying to sabotage her relationship and even said I was acting petty. But as the reality of the situation set in, something shifted. I think for the first time, she saw how much Jake's presence had disrupted our lives and how much it had hurt me. To my surprise, Ashley apologized. She admitted that she had been blinded by her feelings for Jake and hadn't considered how unfair her actions were. She said she needed to reevaluate things with him and asked for some space to think. Over the next week, Jake stopped coming over. Ashley and I had a long, heartfelt conversation, and for the first time in weeks, it felt like I was talking to my old friend again. She admitted that Jake's controlling behavior wasn't sitting right with her anymore, and that she felt like she had been losing herself trying to please him. And here's the best part. Ashley broke up with Jake. She realized he was manipulative and toxic, not just to me, but to her as well. She thanked me for standing my ground and helping her see the situation clearly. We're still working on rebuilding our friendship, but things feel so much better now that he's out of the picture. The apartment is peaceful again, and I've even started redecorating to make the space feel more like home. Ashley and I are taking things one day at a time, but we both agreed to prioritize communication and respect moving forward. I know not every story ends this way, but I'm so grateful mine did. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to stand up for myself. It made all the difference. Without you, I would be living a difficult life right now. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my mom use my makeup products? So yesterday, I, 19, decided to do my mom's makeup for fun. She's 56. We were just hanging out, and I thought it would be cool to show her how I cover up dark spots and make things look smoother. She ended up loving it and couldn't stop talking about how good her skin looked. Naturally, she wanted to know what magical product I used. I told her it was a color corrector I picked up in Korea during a trip last year. She got super interested and asked me to explain how it worked. I gave her the rundown, keeping it simple. Certain colors cancel out specific issues. For example, peach helps cover dark spots and green cancels out redness. I used the peach one for her dark spots and showed her how to apply it. She was all impressed and said, "I'm going to use it tomorrow before church." At this point, I was immediately on edge because, look, I love my mom, but she has a terrible track record with makeup. She's that person who will use way too much product, smush everything together, and ruin expensive stuff because she doesn't bother learning how to use it properly. So I told her very clearly, "Mom, please don't use it on your own. Wake me up tomorrow and I'll do it for you." I even added, "Honestly, I'd rather you not use it at all because I paid for it and I don't want it getting messed up." I seriously considered hiding the color corrector before bed, but then I was like, no, she'll respect what I said, right? I decided to trust her. Spoiler alert, bad decision. Morning rolls around and I wake up to the sound of someone rummaging around. I sit up, half asleep, and see my mom in my room digging through my makeup stash. Immediately I'm like, "Wait, did you already use the color corrector?" And she just goes, "Yeah," like it's no big deal. I bolt out of bed, and oh my goodness, it's worse than I ever imagined. Not only did she use way too much, there are literal craters in the product now, but she also mixed the two separate colors together, peach and green, two colors that are supposed to stay completely separate, and now blended into this gross, muddy mess. For context, the peach is for dark spots and the green is for redness, so mixing them together makes them useless. At this point, I'm seeing red, pun intended. I ask her, "Why would you use it without waking me up like I told you 100 times? She tells me she tried to wake me, but I didn't respond, so she just went ahead and used it. I said, "If I didn't respond, then maybe you should have put it down and waited. How am I supposed to use this now?" She rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting and told me to give her more of my makeup because she was running late for church. I was done. I told her to get out of my room and literally kicked her out. She yelled at me for being dramatic and slammed my door on the way out. I spent the rest of the morning crying out of sheer frustration. Like, it's not even about the money. Although, let's be real, this stuff is not cheap. It's the principle of it. She saw me use the product the night before. She saw me intentionally keeping the colors separate. I explained how it works. So why on earth would she think it's a good idea to mix them together like that? It just felt so disrespectful. I trusted her even though I knew better, and she completely ignored what I said and ruined something that I paid for with my own money. So yeah, am I overreacting? Not the jerk. She needs to pay you back the cost of everything she ruined, because it sounds like she wouldn't know what to buy to replace it, and unfortunately, you're going to have to keep all of your makeup in a bag that stays in your room or somewhere she can't find it. She is not entitled to your belongings that you bought and paid for, and she needs to learn that. Am I wrong for agreeing with my cousin to distance himself from our family after receiving an inheritance? My 57-year-old cousin recently lost his mom, my aunt on my dad's side. Shortly after she passed, he got a call from an attorney. His dad had passed 3 years ago at 81, and his mom was 78 when she passed. They had worked long, grueling hours in factories and office jobs for decades, raising my cousin and his older sister, who's 59. Their entire lives revolved around frugality, and they made sure to instill that same mindset in their kids. Whenever I visited them as a kid, they were always warm and kind, but their house ran like a machine. It wasn't the fun house in the family. Everything was too structured for that, if you know what I mean. So you can imagine the shock when an attorney told my cousins they'd be receiving $100,000 each annually from a trust fund starting in January of 2025. This would continue for 5 years until 2030, with a hefty lump sum waiting for them at the end. All told, it's a cool $1 million, plus accrued interest in the value of their house, which sits on 5 acres and could sell for around $800,000. Not bad, right? Well, apparently, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. My cousin, the 57-year-old, called me up absolutely furious. He's livid that his parents were sitting on all this money their entire lives and never said a word. Both he and his sister grew up believing they were dirt poor because their parents constantly said they were broke. Turns out, when my uncle was about 38, he got hit by a city bus and received a pretty significant settlement. On top of that, my aunt hit the lottery in 1999 for around $500,000. Did they tell anyone? Nope. Instead, they quietly saved, invested, and paid off their tiny 2-bedroom house that they had built on land gifted to them after my grandmother passed. They never upgraded or moved, just stayed put and kept stocking money away. Meanwhile, my cousins struggled growing up. Their parents weren't bad people, but the whole "we're broke" narrative ruled their upbringing. By high school, both of them had part-time jobs and paid for almost everything themselves. To be fair, their parents never asked them to contribute to household bills, but my cousins pretty much supported themselves through college, their weddings, cars, and even medical expenses, always grinding to make ends meet. Fast forward to now, both cousins are furious. My 57-year-old cousin is especially mad because he feels like his parents deliberately withheld financial help when he and his sister needed it the most. His health hasn't been great for the past decade, a mix of gastric issues and diabetes, and his sister is a breast cancer survivor who's still dealing with the aftermath. Neither of them ever got so much as an offer of help from their parents, not even when things were at their worst. To add insult to injury, some extended family members have decided it's their turn to join the drama. My dad's other brother and his 2 adult kids are suddenly holding out their hands, claiming they helped subsidize my aunt and uncle's success. Their reasoning? They provided free childcare back in the day, helped with car repairs, and gave them the land they built their house on. Now they're saying my cousins should pay it forward by hosting a massive holiday gathering, complete with food and gifts, and maybe even covering someone's mortgage or student loans. Honestly, I see both sides. On one hand, my cousins definitely struggled, and knowing that money could have been a lifeline back then must sting. But on the other hand, my aunt and uncle could have easily left the entire fortune to a charity or some random cause, and no one would have been the wiser. It's their money, right? Anyway, I told my cousin I completely understand why he doesn't want to deal with the extended family during the holidays. The guy needs time to process everything, and honestly, the entitlement from some of our relatives is too much. But now I'm wondering, am I in the wrong for telling him to take a step back? Edit. The trust fund disbursements total $200,000 a year, split evenly between them for 5 years, amounting to $1 million. Plus, they now fully own their house and the land, which could sell for up to $800,000. You aren't wrong, neither is he. Let this be a lesson. You ever come into money yourself, you keep your mouth shut. Or, as you can see, everyone will come looking for a handout. The parents really are the jerks, especially if they took from family and never gave it back. But your cousin should take the money and distance himself. It's not on him to settle unspecified debts on their behalf. You're doing the right thing in supporting what's best for your cousins and their mental health at this time. $100K isn't that much money. It's not $5 million. The only reason they had that is because they were frugal. Seriously, $100,000 won't change most people's lives. It's $500K over 5 years, plus half of whatever is left. And I'd say even $100,000 can be life-changing if you have existing medical debt or concern for future medical costs. Am I the jerk for making my ex-wife and her kids live in poverty, even though I have money? I, 46 male, recently finalized my divorce with my now ex-wife, Lisa, who's 41 female. We were only married for 3 years, and the cause for divorce was issue with finances. We had separate bank accounts for our own savings and checkings accounts, for where our salaries went to. I did create an extra account for her where I would deposit money into it monthly just as fun spending money, as I make significantly more and I wanted her to have less stress with her finances. Even with this setup, she would consistently go over the limit and would even take lots of cash out of my wallet and personal safe without informing me. When we were married, she and her 2 kids, who are 18 and 16, from her previous relationship, moved into my house that I own, and I paid for them to go to a private school. Their dad is in their life, so they never saw me as anything other than the guy who married their mom. But I understand that, because they did meet me much later in their lives and not as kids. Regardless, I tried to keep a good relationship, but neither of them ever wanted that and made me feel like an ATM. I got a really thorough prenup made before we got married, so I basically kept everything I have except for some alimony that I have to pay every month. After the divorce, Lisa and her kids moved out, and I informed her that I have closed the bank account I made for sending her money, and I'm going to stop paying for the kids' private school tuition after this year is over. So that way, at least they finish the year out and have a few months to figure out next plans and transferring. It's been about 3 months since then, and I got a nasty call from her saying she can't afford rent anymore, so her and the kids have to move in with her mother, and basically she went off on me for taking away the credit card attached to my bank account. Apparently, the kids have also had to stop some of their extracurricular sports because she can't pay for the programs. She said I left her in poverty and she had to apply for government assistance and food stamps. Also, when we were married, I had mentioned potentially paying for her kids' college tuition when the time comes, but it was never a set thing. Apparently, she still thought this offer was on the table and mapped out how her son had just got accepted to his dream school, and the cost of attendance would be $80,000 per year. So she wanted to know how I would be sending the funds for this. I just told her she's crazy if she thinks I'm giving up my hard-earned money for someone else's kids I have no ties to anymore. and that I covered her bills completely for 3 years, so she should have saved her salary then instead of blowing through it on designer items. A lot of her family and friends and her kid's dad are calling me, saying I need to provide for the kids at least because I'm their stepdad, and that's a lifelong commitment. Also, according to them, it's not fair that I'm taking away their opportunities to be at a fancy private school and college, especially when I have the money to pay for all of it and keep up the lifestyle to how it was when they lived with me. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What kind of sane person would expect their ex-husband to pay for her and her kids' lives? Not to mention the fact that these kids aren't even yours. Tell them that their ATM is now closed and wish them the best with their life. Block their numbers and enjoy your money. Let me see if I understand this correctly. Her ex-husband, as in the father of the 2 kids in question, your former stepkids, called you up and said you needed to pay for his kids to go to college? ETA, you were never really married, were you? Marriage includes sharing, and you weren't really sharing. Separate bank accounts, strong prenup, etc. I'm not surprised you got divorced. Don't get with a woman who has kids if you're going to always see them as someone else's kids. Not the jerk, but I have a big issue with people who choose to get involved with parents and don't commit to the kids long term. It's not your obligation, but being with her for 3 years, married, plus whatever years dating, this is no small amount. It's 100% your money and you don't have to do anything. I just feel bad for the kids. Friend lost out on winning $1,000 lotto ticket because of me. I'm part of a specialized friend group where we all share the same hobby. Not really a hobby, but I don't want to give out personal information. I was really excited to join this group as I've been an avid hobbyist for over 6 years. I got to meet the entire group minus Mike, and we all got along great. It was an easy transition into the group, and I was having a lot of fun. Finally, about a month after joining, I met Mike. Mike was okay, pretty tough to get to know, like pulling teeth, but I just kind of ignored it and kept moving on with everyone else. Meanwhile, Mike was really inconsistent with showing up to the twice-a-month group meetings, so I didn't really get to know him. Throughout the years, Mike had an infamous birthday party that he would invite the group to, except for me. The first year I was okay with it because I had just joined and I was about 2 weeks in. Second year, I forgot about it until everyone was talking about it and then asked me why I didn't go. Well, I wasn't invited. Third year, same thing. I wasn't invited. So that one stung a little, but I made it my mission to really try and get to know him a bit more. However, it was never reciprocated and proved to be a difficult task. The problem was, the guy runs hot and cold. He's overly dramatic on some days and quiet as a mouse on other days. One time he'll get mad at you if you hug him, another time he'll be in your face all excited telling you the latest new gadget he got. Then the next time you see him, he's the complete opposite. Super huggy and barely talks. You'll ask him questions about himself and he'll either give you one-word answers or very vague answers. This is not just to me, but to everyone, and you never know which Mike you will get on any given day. I finally asked the group about him and their thoughts, and they all said exactly what I said down to the letter. I followed up with, why is he with this group? Technically, he was with the starting group members and has never left, so everyone just tolerates him. For our meeting just before his birthday, I got him a card, wrote him a nice sentiment, and bought $10 worth of scratchers. I brought it with me and he didn't show up. Came home, told the hubby that I was disappointed and a little mad that once again, he doesn't show, and that holds back the group dynamic for the evening. Also, he wasn't there for the 3rd time in a row, which is a rule break within the group. So out of my frustration, I decided to scratch them off myself. To my surprise, every card was a winner. Technically won $1,012. I was so excited. This is the 4th year, and he celebrated his birthday month in August. Didn't invite me again, but at this point, I'm no longer offended or hurt by it. I don't want to go. It's almost mid-September, and he's endlessly complaining on social media right now on how broke he is from the 2 parties that he threw. Now, his car repairs totaling $1,000, and he's basically crying for anyone to donate some money. I keep laughing at his posts, because had he shown up to our meeting, he would have had the money to pay for his car repair. Also, no one in the group knew I bought a card and that I had some winning lotto tickets. Additional info. He wrote in our private group chat asking for some financial help. I responded, I'm praying for you right now. Praying hands emoji. Honestly, if he was a nicer person, I would have held on to the card and lotto tickets for him. We have a meeting tonight and he's not going even though someone offered him a ride. He seems like the type that would hold a grudge or go off on me for owing him this money. Again, he's super dramatic, and there's no telling on how he would react to the news. Updates. His aunt gave him $1,500 to get his car fixed. He went shopping and bought a dog and a $200 outfit. So he still doesn't have a car, but I belong to his social media, and he easily gets around town and out of the city, so he has some type of transformation, but I know it's not his own car that needed repair. Now on to the update of what happened Wednesday. So this past week was our Secret Santa gift exchange. Wouldn't you know it, I got him and he got me. He didn't show up, so now I'm without a gift exchange, and I just said in my head, forget it. I was prepared for this and bought something I liked, which was more lottery tickets. I scratched them off in front of everyone and won $75. Super exciting. Everyone blasted it on social media. He contacted me this morning saying that he couldn't make it last night because his dog was sick and he had my gift ready. He was excited to receive the $75 because he really needed it. I didn't respond. Meanwhile, he posted on his social media that he was out with friends that night, so I guess he forgot that we're connected on social media. Last night, we had a special meeting that was pre-planned for months. We did the Secret Santa exchange earlier in the week because we knew we wouldn't be able to celebrate it last night. He shows up, gives me a big hug, talks in the most friendliest way ever, which he has never done with me before, so it just looks and feels like someone completely sucking up. He eventually asks me directly for the money and doesn't even have the gift he's supposed to give me with an exchange. It's not like he had a backpack or a bag that it was in. Him. Okay, great. So where's the money I was supposed to win from my gift exchange? Me. Oh, don't worry about the gift exchange. I'm fine. And I walked away. That's all I said. It didn't even make complete sense to me when I thought about it later, but it left him dumbfounded. He tried to complain about it to the other group members, but they were just not having it. With no collaboration, they all basically said the same thing. You hardly ever show up, and when you do, you're not 100% in. You rarely talk to OP when she's here, and now you want her to hand over $75 for a gift you weren't even here for? She had nothing to open and was left out. She owes you nothing. I have a feeling that this will not be the last I hear of it, but I will stand my ground. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.